you see AI and its guardrails evolving over the next 12 to 24 months? So they want you to predict the future a little bit. Where do you see it going?
Look, I think guardrails, yeah, it's an interesting one because it's like Chris mentioned, it's a balance between functionality and I guess locking things down. So definitely, especially the EU Act, demanding organizations to have a registry of all your agents, what they're doing, and audit trails. So that's happening right now. So even if organizations are, vendors are, LLM providers are, pushing out these models, you're going to get more restrictions around understanding what's happening in your enterprise and what are your agents doing. Especially with, productivity tools like Copilot, you can create your own agents. So what's going to happen is, users are going to create their own agents. The business units are going to create their own agents. You're going to get agent sprawl. And in Australia and New Zealand, we are going to get laws like the EU Act, where you need to know what's happening in your enterprise. You need to know what the agents are doing. You need to know what data has been exchanged to a level where what are the prompts? Are you adhering to responsible AI practices? So in the next 12 months, I think the laws and the compliance and things will change, which will, I think, force organizations to be more accountable for what's happening in AI in their organization.
Yeah, and just to add to that, this is where identity becomes super important across the board now. AI is going to be treated like a staff member, all agents. We are now starting to see, if we want to talk about evolution of guardrails, right now, sort of the AI agents are sort of free to do what they want. Soon they're going to be like employees. And we are starting to see, not so much here in Australia, but overseas, where they're building HR departments for AI agents, which I know is a bit of it's a mind-blowing thing, but it is the truth. They're giving them a staff ID. Yes. They're giving them access. They can't do background checks, unfortunately, so we're not sure about that. But we have to know what these agents are doing, because especially when there's agent-to-agent communication or things that are happening, we talk about insider risk or insider threats. Usually it's human, but this is where now identity becomes super important. It's people, it's machines, it's agents, it's everything now. We have to have that identity. And until we understand the identity, we don't know what policies to set, and we don't know how to treat that system in place now. So I think from a guardrail point of view, definitely the evolution of identity and creating identities for these agents in particular, and then treating them like employees. And you will have a department that will have to manage these AI agents. The AI agent sprawl is going to happen. We're all going to have our own agents, but we can't let them do whatever they want within an organization. They're going to have set policies in place to be able to, help mitigate the risk that they could cause.
Yeah. And just, if you take on that, AI as an employee, the concept further, you have to onboard them. You have to give them access to the right things. Not everything. You need to control that access. And if you think of it as an intern, you need to onboard them. You're not going to give them access to production, systems straight away. You need to build that trust associated with it. You need to have policy. You need to have certain rights associated with that. There's going to be licensing assigned to agent accounts now. And then what does that mean? And HR department's going to be, like Chris said, has to evolve. So I think it's not just about policies and beyond that. We are going into new operating models within enterprises.
Yeah, that is going to be a whole new world, right? Can you imagine HR, looking at it from that lens too, not people, but, we're calling agents co-workers even. So how does that really start shaping tomorrow?